welcome back to the Your Last Resort podcast with your host, Brandon Lejean. This week, we have a very special guest, guys. You might know him from the outro song. His name is Wax, aka Michael Jones. He's a rapper, singer, songwriter, producer, comedian, food reviewer, and his bio even says human being, in case you weren't sure. Thank you for doing the podcast, man.
Thanks for having me, man. That's funny. I was just reading, like, you know, like if you have like a social media thing, you kind of like put up a bio or a picture and you just don't look at it for another year or something. I just read that Instagram bio thing that you read, and I never thought about it from the human being thing. When it's like, it's not like I'm trying to I guess I'm not trying to clarify that I'm not an extraterrestrial. I guess that's just supposed to be like, plus I'm just a regular guy.
Makes you seem like just one of the bros, you know, in case people, you know, look at you too high or anything like that. I like it because it's a little joke, and honestly, some people take their bios too seriously.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
It where it's corny, you know, they have, you know, Forex trading, making the money, like they got hashtags in their bio and shit too. Those are the worst kind of people.
I just went on a really long walk, and I've been having like kind of like a deep thought-filled morning, and I've been thinking about just how some people are able to view life with that kind of seriousness put on themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I can't imagine that. I think definitely, like, you being an artist and me being, you know, an artist in another form with comedy and stuff, we're not the most serious people. Like, we take shit serious when it has to be, but those people who just live life uptight, and so it has to be exhausting to live like that.
Yeah, but I also think, like, you know, some people might just be delusional. I mean, I think a lot of people need to be delusional in order to get through this shit. That's why so many people believe in religion and whatnot. But I think a different kind of delusion is just like this weird self-confidence and belief in the system and structure that we live in. People that would just like nice house, nice car, hot wife, whatever, like, you know what I'm saying? People that live in that world have like this delusion that makes them comfortable as well. You know what I mean? And sometimes I'm jealous of those kind of people. You know what I mean? They don't see the fucking misery as much, you know?
Yeah, they fall into this, like, life's kind of set out for us, and like a set path. Like, you're supposed to get a job, meet a girl, get married, start a family, die. Like, those are the life that you're raised with cartoons teach kids that shit, which is crazy. So I do get what you're saying, where, like, sometimes, like, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if I was just like a stockbroker who lived like outside of New York with a rich family and didn't worry about shit? But there's also something nice to, like you said, not taking life as seriously and being in the confines of what we're, like, told to do.
Right.
Which is just a better way to live life. So how I normally kick off the podcast is I go with my guests with a would you rather. But before, again, man, I just got to thank you. I got to be unprofessional for like 30 seconds and just say that it's an honor to have you on here. You know, I'm a huge fan. I've grown up listening to you. I got the Wax podcast t-shirt on here.
Holy moly, I didn't even notice that.
Yeah,
wow.
I got the it's actually funny because it's pretty big on me, because I bought it as a 2XL and I lost like 50 pounds from football, so it like is huge on me. So it's a more of a t-shirt, you know, sleeping shirt now. But yeah, I got the OG podcast shirt here.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that not that many people bought that particular shirt. I did sell some of them, but that's a relatively rare shirt. It was not a popular merch item as much as my other stuff.
Yeah, no, I mean, I got a few other things. So yeah, I just appreciate it. That had to be my fanboy moment. I have to ask, will the podcast ever be making a return? For any Wax fans of the Wax podcast listening to this, or just people wondering, do you think it'll ever make a comeback?
I don't know about Wax's podcast in its in the form that it used to be, but the plan and we have put some steps into making this plan actually move forward. The plan is me and my brother. I live in the same city as my twin brother, Herbal T. Now, so the plan is that me and him are going to have a podcast together.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's the plan. And we bought like, we're going to do a video podcast. We bought cameras.
Wow. Yeah.
I don't think we bought the right cameras, honestly.
Yeah.
We bought cameras, and, like, you know, sometimes when you're really want to do something, like, the first step is like, we're going to buy something.
Yeah.
And, like,
investing all the money.
If we buy something, we're going to do it. You know?
Yeah.
We bought the cameras. with tripods, and my homie set up like a little bit of lights in my music studio, and we're gonna do this podcast.
Okay.
But it just hasn't happened yet. It's all kind of like recent, but it's gonna be a Wax and Herbal Tea podcast.
No, that's super exciting. I think one of the things, like, because this podcast, I started it off as like a solo one, kind of by myself. You know, I mimicked it off yours, and I've heard you talk about how much you like Bill Burr. Bill Burr is like my favorite comedian. So
Yeah, that's what's
yeah,
up. My podcast wouldn't exist if I hadn't. I haven't listened to his podcast in years, but when I first started my podcast, it was really the same format as Bill Burr's podcast, which isn't rocket science. It's just
no,
talking.
yeah,
Like it's not like it's, I'm sure there was it's like a radio show with one person basically. But
yeah, no, and that's cool because it gives you that you don't have to have the flexibility of trying to find a guest and getting people to do your podcast, which it makes it more like your own thing. You're just like, oh, I got an hour to kill, let me do it. But there is something to be said where there's that nice like camaraderie of like having a host or guests where you can kind of bounce off each other. It's not just some person, sharing their thoughts. I'm sure eventually people listening to mine were like, okay, you sound crazy just talking to yourself for 45 minutes to an hour or whatever.
it's very difficult to grow when you don't have guests. Like if you have guests, then every time you have a podcast, that guest might tell their kind of like, advertise that the podcast
Yeah.
exists. Unless you're Bill Burr and you're just like amazing. Plus he has a fan base that's already there as a comedian, and he's just exceptionally talented and funny. You know what I mean? Like, unless you're somebody like him, it's hard to grow. Like if Mark Maron would have done a Bill Burr style podcast from jump, it wouldn't be like where Bill Burr's was. It would be a different thing. Like his talent is in dealing with other people, and also every time he has a big name guest on it, they put it on their Twitter or whatever,
Exactly. Yeah, there's that sharing of it, that where like there's some people who can get grimy with it, and like the podcast or just any music thing where they want people on their thing to help grow their shit, but like truly having guests is what's going to introduce more people to your music, your art form, whatever it is. So that's why, the guest is fun. I'm looking forward then to that podcast with you and Herbal Tea. I'm a big fan of his music too and all that. So
thank you,
that'll
man.
be super cool.
I'm super flattered by the fact that you have that shirt and that you like the podcast, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. It was actually it was one of the first podcasts I listened to, and I remember like I so didn't understand podcasts. I think I went to your like actual wax.com or whatever and played it on my laptop on the page. I didn't know there was a podcast app you could have. I remember thinking like, this is really dumb that I have to use a laptop every time I want to listen to a podcast. So yeah, you kind of got me into that shit. But I want to move into the first would you rather. We normally do it to kind of break the ice. Some people a little camera shy, but would you rather go into the past and meet your ancestors, or go into the future and meet your great grandchildren, etc.? So like the way I look at it is past. Is that easy for you? You're going past?
Yeah, because the past already happened. I can't change it.
Oh, that's a good idea.
It doesn't really affect the rest of my life too much. Like I'll be like, oh, it might inform the way that it might inform my worldview or the way that I might move, but it's not it's not going to be like, well, none of this matters. I'm doomed because in the future, great grandson's the next Hitler. Great, you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, definitely past. I would definitely go to the past.
Yeah, I guess you're right.
Not if it was like the Back to the Future thing where you can actually change the future by the butterfly effect or whatever. But if I could just see it, like the way that not Back to the Future, more like Ghost of Christmas Past, where you're just kind of looking and viewing what used to happen.
Yeah, I agree with you because, I guess you're right. I never thought about the fact that, like, if you went and just saw how terrible the earth is in even like 20 years or 30 years, how differently you could live your life. I just was thinking about that. My lineage is just Caucasian on Caucasian. And I was like, I don't know if I want to meet all the people who came before me. At some point, I'm going to run into probably not the greatest people, but you never know, and I mean,
that's not like perspective.
It's not, but then to your point, it's the past. I can't change it. It's more like you're kind of just viewing it compared to the, like more like the Ghost of Christmas Past. I don't I mean, what the fuck am I supposed to do at this point?
There's nothing you
Sorry.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is your last name French?
Yeah, so it's like it's pronounced Lejean. It looks nothing like it's spelt, but it's French Canadian. So that's where also I might be all right. I feel like maybe that Quebec area they were nice. I don't know. I'm just basing it off Canadians being nice.
Well, I
I
mean, I feel like Canada might have been a little nicer in that they didn't
yeah
have slavery, but they definitely had the kick the natives out kind of thing going.
yeah. So I
You
didn't
know,
even think of that. Didn't even think about all this
they're
stuff.
like fucking imperialism light. You know what I mean? They're like
Yeah.
the diet version of European imperialism.
Yeah, they did a good job like being right next to like one of the worst forms of imperialism, like all the
Yeah,
crazy shit. And they could just kind of hide, like, hey, we're nice. We did also kick out our indigenous people, don't
right.
forget about that.
Yeah, I mean, and it's funny too because like it's like it is like a diet version of that American imperialism, and
Yeah.
so much so that like it's kind of crazy. I try to tell my friends from Canada this like that. It's
Hmm.
weird how little American kids in school are taught about Canada.
Yeah, no,
You don't know anything. I remember years ago, like being like, wait a second, was there slavery in Canada?
yeah.
Like somebody said that there was no. I was like, wait a second, what? I was like, shit, I don't know. We never really learned about that. You know what I mean? Like
No,
we never know until just Justin Trudeau kind of changed it a little bit. But back in the day, nobody ever knew who the prime minister was. You know what I
mhm.
mean? Like it was just kind of Americans are so self-absorbed. You know what I mean?
No, because even right now, I was like, yeah, I think the Canadians are nicer. And then I was like, did they do that? And you were like, they kind of kicked out a group of people. I was like, oh, yeah. Like, I don't know why. I think because TV obviously shapes so much who we are, especially my generation. I've grown up with electronics. Like, I think I had my first phone in third grade, and
Wow.
I could play solitaire and Snake on it and shit like that. So like, now it's not the iPhone today, but even like the jokes is like kids, like cartoons will make fun of Canadians for being like soft Americans or like kind of wussies. They're just like the little sissies up north. So I think really the only thing we get to hear about Canadians is they're kind of like weak and hockey, and that's it. And that's truly all we learn
Yeah.
about them.
There is that's the stereotype of just it's cold and there's hockey and A and buddy and
Yeah.
whatnot. It's funny because you know you I haven't been up there in a while. That's a long story, but I have been to Canada many times back in the
Yeah.
day. Like there's some fucking tough motherfuckers up there. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
dude.
actually, it's some rough cities, rough areas. It's not necessarily just like everything's great. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, there's places where it's straight up like it's straight up the wilderness up there. I mean, in America, I mean, maybe parts in like the real rural countries you're far, but like there's nowhere that's just like truly the middle of nowhere woods, like not like where people just live as much as like the northern part of Canada where they do, where they just face the crazy weather, bears, all that wild shit.
Right, and there's like it's a very small portion of the population. It's interesting how most of the population, I guess, it's kind of like the coasts of America. Almost all the population is on the south, on the kind of near the
Yeah.
border. That's just a weather thing, you know.
No, exactly. I mean, it makes sense. And you're I've seen you're going back to Canada, right? You're finally getting back in there.
I got
That's
the
exciting.
official. I hired a lawyer. I went through a year-long process of writing letters and getting recommendations and getting police reports and all this shit. And now I have an official document that I can show to the fucking guy at the
Nice.
border that says I'm allowed up there.
Fuck yeah.
I'm in even better shape than the average person because it's and a lot of people don't understand. It's like they're pretty strict with the border up there. Like people think that
Yeah.
it's like you said that this stereotype about Canada. I mean, even it's a long story, but one of the reasons that I wasn't allowed in Canada is because people I was with that were Canadian up there kind of believed in the same stereotype too. They're like, it's Canada, nobody cares, and it's
Yeah.
like government does. You know, you can't just do
Yeah.
whatever you want and fucking disrespect their laws and shit like that. You can't do that. They'll be like, you
No.
can't come in here. And they're very strict. They're very strict about the border policy. So sometimes people go over there to do a show and they don't even know. They don't even know that they have some kind of that they're not allowed to be there. They don't
Yeah.
know that you know, back in the day you weren't allowed to go up there to do a music show. You know, they actually changed that law, but for tax reasons and back in, you know, you still can't, if you have a DUI on your record in America, you can't go to Canada for 8 or 10
That's
years.
crazy. That's wild.
And a lot of people just don't, I didn't know that. A lot of people just don't know that information. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's just different. Yeah, like you said, we're just uneducated on it because you would never think that. And I've heard the story from you telling it on the podcast and all that crazy stuff
Yeah.
that
Now
happened.
I have a
So
document, like, so I'm in better shape than if it's just the average person that just goes up there with a passport. I'm in even better shape than them because I have a passport and a document that's like I'm allowed in this bitch. You know what I
oh,
mean?
that's awesome. Yeah, that's super exciting. I'm sure. I mean, because how long has it been since you were able to get up there and perform?
2009 was the last time I was there. So
Wow. Yeah. So
12
you're
years.
you're
Oh my
that's a long time. You're gonna be able to reach a lot of, people who've been waiting for you to come back up there and all that exciting
God.
stuff whenever
Are
all
you in
that
the
takes.
Toronto-ish area?
No, I'm in Austin. So I'm originally from Brea, California, if you know where that is in Orange
I
County.
do. Yeah.
Yeah, so I grew up like
I've
5
been to
minutes.
Brea Improv, the comedy
Yeah,
club.
I grew up like 5 minutes from the Brea Improv. I've lived there my whole life. And then I started doing comedy about a year and a half ago in Orange County. And then with the pandemic hitting, there was just a good opportunity. I mean, the Austin scene's booming. It's so cheap to live out here. And I'm still at that open micer phase. I get booked at bar shows. I get paid in a lot of chicken wings, and stage time is like you got paid in that. And so it's a good city out here to just get up every night. You like tonight, I think I'll do 4 spots at 4 different open
Wow.
mics, and I did 3 last night. So it's a really good area to, grind your teeth and shape yourself as a comedian. I mean, is
You know a guy named Ryan Montalvo?
Ryan Montalvo. It sounds familiar.
Just it's another guy that has kind of a similar story to you that moved to Austin to do comedy, and he actually used to listen to Wax's podcast. He was called Ryan M, the songwriter. I don't know.
Oh, wow. That's crazy. Well, Ryan M, if you happen to stumble upon this for some reason, reach out to me because, yeah, that's crazy. I totally remember Ryan, the songwriter. That's
Yeah, Ryan, the
hilarious.
songwriter. He's a comedian. He still writes songs, but he started doing comedy. I don't like know Ryan that well,
Yeah.
but I know he's in the Austin scene. Also, Harvey Seasalt is an animator slash musician and comedian who just did an animated music video for me, and
Wow. That's awesome.
He lived in Austin too.
Okay.
But
Yeah. If either of you guys are listening and you want to reach out, and I'm just trying to get to know people, collab, do stuff, projects, all that kind of stuff together, let me know.
it's crazy
Um,
how many people are moving down to Austin. Like, and Austin is like Austin is awesome, but it's a great place, especially if you love eating and drinking and
yeah.
live music and live comedy. But it's like I remember like it kind of wasn't built to be as big as it is
No, it is not.
population wise. So the traffic is fucked because the roads just can't handle it. You know what I
Dude, they
mean?
have this dumb shit here called it's the I-35 is the main freeway. And
Uh,
because they built the city when it was small, they built a 2-lane highway that like is raised, that's like
yeah,
up
I
in
know
the
that, right?
air. And then
Mhm.
there's the to add on, they just built a 2-lane street highway underneath. So like the freeway is only 2 lanes big, and the only other option is also the freeway, but it's a street with lights. So if you leave at the wrong time of the day, it gets crazy. But honestly, so far, I don't think the traffic's been as bad as like LA traffic, because
Right.
LA traffic is just another animal compared to out here.
Right.
So that's just been the nice
That
thing
sounds
is
like
all that.
that sounds like the worst comedy premise you could possibly be doing right now. If you got up on stage, and was like, let's talk about Austin traffic versus LA.
Yeah. Yeah, people
Where
do
are you?
not.
Are you living like near like? Can you walk to shit where you're at?
No, so I live like just I mean I my address is Austin, but I'm like 10 minutes from 6th Street, which is
Oh,
where a
okay.
majority of the comedy scene is. So I can't walk to shit, but I it takes me 10 to 15 minutes. I leave my house around 4:30, 5ish, head into town. It takes 15 minutes to get there. I park, and then everything after that is just walk to a mic, maybe catch a bird scooter to a mic, but everything's super, super close once you get into the city, which is nice.
Right.
So it's been a nice setup for me, a good thing to just, hopefully see where my career in this all goes. And, I'm still so new at it that everything's so ambiguous. There we go. That's the word I was looking for. But I mean, firsthand, I'm talking to someone who's, ran the gambit and the whole grind of being an artist.
Yeah, I did comedy for a couple years too, like actual stand up. And
I wanted to talk to you about that because I remember you were running a show in Santa Monica, right? It was a comedy music show. I actually wrote into your podcast asking if you thought I could get in with fake IDs to that because I was too young to get in at the time. I think I was like 19 when you were running them, probably. So I
wow.
tried to get into those, never was able to. But so you would do music at those, right? Would you also do comedy?
Yeah, I would when I first started doing that show, it's called Wax and Friends.
Mm-hmm.
The first, and I don't know why I did it this way. It's because when I first started doing the Wax and Friends show at the West Side Comedy Theater, I would have a friend of mine host the show and I would be like
Yeah.
the headlining act. And this is because in the world of music, say you're the headlining act at a 3 acts,
Yeah.
you don't want to like show your face before,
Yeah.
because like it's all about that your opening song and when you come out and the
Yeah, the
opening.
hype net, like holy shit,
Yeah.
he's real, like that's him, the excitement for the crowd.
But I realized after a couple shows, it's like, oh, if you're doing a Wax and Friends show, especially at a laid back kind of venue where you're doing stand-up comedy and the only
Yeah.
music acoustic, like you should be the host. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? If it's Wax
Yeah.
and Friends, Wax should be the host. And yeah, you can come out at the end and do your set, and nobody gives a shit. Like, this is supposed to be like a friendly, fun thing. So after a few times, I was the host and I'd come out and I'd do, 7 minutes of stand up, and then I'd
Yeah.
introduce people, just hosted, like talk shit between. And then when I came up at the end, I'd do like 25 minutes. That was like probably 5 songs with a little bit of shit talk in between. And
Yeah.
I also had some like musical bits that I would do. They
Mm-hmm.
weren't really songs, but they might. I had some stuff that was in the same vein as like, have you ever seen like back like somebody like Zach Galifianakis when he used to
Yeah.
sit when he used to just play stuff on the piano that kind of set
Mm-hmm. Like Craig Robinson type thing too.
yeah, kind of like
Yeah.
Craig Robinson. Craig Robinson was at one of those shows. Craig Robinson.
Oh, that's
I
awesome.
know Craig Robinson a little bit.
That's really cool.
One of my best friends is Craig Robinson's opener on the road.
Is it something Rex,
T-Rex.
right? Yeah,
Rex,
there
yeah.
you go. Yeah. I've seen his like comedy stuff, and I remember you like always like I remember he did a few of your shows and stuff because I remember
He's one of my best friends. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome. That's super, super
He's
cool.
just like my homie. We hang out a lot. And we do unproductive stuff way more than we do productive stuff.
I have a friend just like that too, where you might come up with a good idea once or twice, but a lot of it is just what you finish the day and you're like, did we even do anything that was really that productive?
Yeah, exactly. Me and him are just friends, but he would always do my show. He was a regular at my show. But yeah, or like I think Dimitri Martin used to kind of play his guitar and just
Yeah.
he would say like his one-liners over his chords, you know what I mean? I had a couple bits that were sort of in that vein, like they were just kind of spoken pieces that where I'd be playing them underneath it, but it was mostly songs. And then at the beginning of the show, I would do a couple some stand-up,
Well, and your music, you have very serious songs, but also very like comical songs. So it makes sense that you could do both and kind of do that. That was actually funny. One of the questions I had written down was to ask if you had ever done stand up, because I wouldn't have been surprised that you did. So you said you did it at that, you've done it at that the Wax and Friends show. Have you done it since? Is it something that you might do again, or are you just more focused on music at this point?
If you go to YouTube and just Google Wax stand-up comedy, I do have a set
Oh, cool.
that really was probably the pinnacle of my skills as a stand-up comedian. Like
Yeah.
probably the set that I have up on my YouTube page is probably the best. It's probably the best jokes I had. You know what I mean? I had a couple cool jokes in there. But I don't know. After doing it for a few years, I just kind of like realized like I didn't like love it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? I really, really enjoyed it. And I
Mhm.
also like, I feel like it helped me. Remember one time when I first did comedy, me and my homie went to this open mic and I
Yeah.
got on the stage and it was just so, I was trembling, you know what I mean? And this is after
Yes.
I've been doing music for years. I've been on stages in front of 80,000 people and shit.
Yeah.
But at the Liquid Zoo in Van Nuys in front of 10 drunks, it was so fucking scary and shit. And I think part of like that experience, part of that was kind of like, all right, I should try to get over this fear. And also I love comedy and I always have
Yeah.
loved comedy. And then I also I love I think I like writing jokes more than I like performing as a stand-up.
I
Because if you
get you.
think about it, like writing raps, writing bars, writing metaphors, especially my kind of my bread and butter is analogies, you know,
Yeah.
whether it's in rap or in comedy. And
Mhm.
it comes from the same place, man. It comes from a very similar place in your brain. If you are writing an analogy, this is like that, you know what I mean? Like that's
Yeah.
rap bars and comedy premises, you know what I mean?
No, totally 100%. Because there's that same like satisfaction of like coming up with like a really good bar where you're like, ooh, like that's a good ass line. Or the same as with a comedy thing where you're like, that's fucking funny. Like that's gonna, sound nice on stage or sound good on a beat, whichever one it is. But yeah, that fear, that trembling fear when you go up on stage, especially when you first go up, it's fucking crazy
It's
how
so weird.
nervous you get.
Yeah, it's so weird.
Yeah.
It's kind of like I guess if you go back to like doing like speech class in school or something,
Hmm.
or doing public speaking when you're in front of the class or whatever, you know what I mean? And when you're doing music, you have this like safety blanket, you know what I mean? Where like
Yeah.
you already know how the song goes. You might even have like in the case of rap, you might even like if you have a DJ and they just play the beat and you just rap over the beat, like
Yeah.
granted, it sucks if you forget the lyrics or something like that, but you kind of like it's that's what you do. And
Yeah.
especially if you've been doing it since you were a little kid, you know what I mean? You've been
Hmm.
doing it 20, 30 years or whatever, you know what I mean? So you good.
Yeah. I mean, and like you have to write the song and create the song, but once the song is made, essentially you're just memorizing another song. Like I'm sure there's someone who knows your like knows your music well enough that they could go on stage and sing every lyric, but they couldn't obviously make the music. So I get what you're saying. There is that, and especially the rappers that rap over their own songs.
Oh, right, yeah.
You don't, it doesn't matter if you could forget a whole verse. It's playing behind you. It's a lot easier to remember it that than just being
Right.
up there off your memory, or just even like with the beat only, an instrumental only. That shit gets crazy up there.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of what the comedy equivalent of that is. It
Yeah,
really
I
is
mean, I guess
like
it'd be like,
maybe going up there and reading off your phone or something, you know,
yeah,
something
yeah.
like
I mean, people do that. It's kind of like, it's just like one of those weird, I guess, like unwritten rules. Like, you're not supposed to wear shorts on stage unless you're a fat guy. Like, you're not supposed to read off your notebook unless it's an open mic, like a true open mic. Not like if there's a crowd, there's little things that it's like, it's almost like the baseball's cardinal rules, don't walk on the line, don't kick dirt on home plate, little shit where you're like, how much do you fall? Like if it's hot today, I'm gonna wear shorts to the open mic because I'm a bigger guy and I sweat. I don't want to fucking sit in pants all day. So there's just little weird shit in comedy. So I mean, I guess maybe going up there with your notebook and reading it would probably be the same. But I think a lot of times your bits sound worse when you're just reading shit. There's not that authenticity, because I think a big thing with comedy is making my bit feel like I'm just having a conversation with you, because the biggest laughter with like your friends or anyone is always that like friendly banter, joking conversation. And when you can make like the best, like Bill Burr, Dave Chappelle, these guys make you feel like you're just listening to your friend, Bob, tell a story
Of
at the
course.
campfire. And
Yeah,
so
and we
there's
all,
that
it's
comes
funny
with
because
it.
we all have a friend like that, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of and especially now because I feel like comedy is just really big and everybody kind of knows
Yeah.
that it's a possibility. It didn't used to be like that, especially when I was a kid. But
No.
you know, you think if you're like the guy who's really funny around his friends that you can walk up on stage and be Bill Burr or Dave
Yeah.
Chappelle, and you don't realize how fucking difficult it is to do that
Mm-hmm.
as to because you have to learn to act like yourself, which is a
Yeah.
trick, and you have to make everything look in the moment when it's not. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Dude, I've had friends that like people don't know anything about comedy. People think a
No.
comedian gets up on stage and just fucking freestyles. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly. Yeah.
I'm like this, like my boy. I'm not gonna name his name, but my boy thought that, and I was like, he was like, dude, I can't believe he just goes up there and says all that stuff, right? Like, just makes it up on the spot. I was like, you think that that's what he's doing?
Yeah.
I was like, that's a sign that he's doing something right. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? But it's completely not what the fuck he's doing. Um,
No, exactly. People don't understand like the intricacies that go into it. A lot of time they just think it's saying funny shit, but the ultimately like what comedy boils down to is just you, one person, are trying to say something that's relatable and funny to X amount of people, whether that's 10, 100, 1,000, an arena, whatever big you're doing. That's what your jokes have to be. Like I can't write a joke about, my third story apartment in Austin and be super specific, because people are going to be like, oh, I don't live in Austin. I don't have a third story apartment. Like, you have
mm,
to get these things that everyone can relate to, or like the funny thing you're saying is something they can picture, not something out of the ordinary. So,
yeah, and people, and it's funny because basically, which and the guy who tries comedy for the first time because he's funny and his friend group doesn't realize that, and
mm-hmm.
like because he's told that story to his friends before and he thinks it's funny, and the average person thinks that comedy is you go up on stage and tell a story, but they
Yeah.
don't realize that there's subtleties in the way you tell a story that make people, because nobody cares about you.
Yeah, no one
Nobody
gives a fuck.
like what you just said. I don't, nobody cares that you live in that apartment,
Yeah.
but you know what they do? They live in apartments. So
Mm-hmm.
you don't say, I live in a 3-story apartment, my landlord's a jerk. You could change it to simply like, you ever lived in an apartment and you have that fucking landlord that you know what I'm saying? Like
Exactly,
you
dude. Yeah.
have to replace the I with you and come through it,
Mm-hmm.
come at it like in some way that makes it about themselves. They're no longer thinking about you. They're thinking about their
Mm-hmm.
own life. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's super yeah, there's so many just little things people don't realize, and as I become more of a fan of comedy, and like you said, you're a big fan of comedy, I like fall in love with those things, like trying to work things certain way, hearing how a comedian writes his bits, those little twists and like challenges you can give yourself where the normal person has no idea, but you as the artist get to push yourself in that way. I'm sure there's
Mhm.
stuff like that in music, trying new beats, working on different types of songs, expanding your genre, all that type of stuff.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
sorry, what were you saying?
No, go ahead.
I had a question I wanted to ask you actually about like you making music. So you started big in the YouTube era. You were huge when like YouTube first started, and then they moved. Obviously, then you had iTunes where you bought a song. It was 99 cents. You put it on your shuffle and shit. And then now we're into Spotify where anyone listening to this could pull up your whole catalog instantly and listen to it. Uh, as an artist, have like those changes in platforms seemed huge, and is there one that you kind of like an era you liked more that you thought was better for maybe the artist in a sense?
Man, that's a fucking good question, by the way.
Oh,
Uh,
thank you.
it made me think about the evolution of it because there's before YouTube is like,
Mm-hmm.
when I was a kid, you had to
Back in
go to,
my day.
like you couldn't hear the thing unless you physically had it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? You either had to go to the record store and buy it, or somebody, and then later on, your friend could burn a CD maybe.
Yeah.
You know, if he had the fucking $700 CD burner technology.
Yeah.
This is before people were burning CDs in their laptops off of iTunes.
Yeah.
And right in between what I just said was the era was everything was free. Napster,
Mhm.
LimeWire era. Nobody
Yeah.
made fucking money off of anything. There were people that blew up off of it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But everything was free. And then around the same time as YouTube coming out, there was this era, especially in hip hop music, where when you put out an album, it'd be a mixtape and it would be free. And the way
Yeah.
you would put out an album was it was a link, and you click the link and it would download a zip file
I
of
have
your.
dat. I was just young enough for that because I got albums on my phone that say Dat Piff exclusive and
Dat
shit.
Piff, Dat
I
Piff is that, yeah.
your Scrub Life mixtape on my phone fucks my phone up every like it says wax like song 01 like when I like your album I have had to just memorize the track list because you can't see a single name on any of the songs because they were downloaded from a link. So like
That's
I
hilarious.
I get what you're saying, and I'm just literally I could hit delete and download the iTunes version and it'd be fixed. But it's all I almost enjoy it at this point that I'm like, oh, song 1 is red and song 2, you know what I mean? Little
Yeah,
shit
yeah.
like that. So I know. So
Right, cool.
that's
Now
the
it
era.
stands out.
Yeah, that's the era
But so
of
that's so in that era, you weren't making money by people downloading and listening to it. You
mhm.
also couldn't really tell. It's like, say you downloaded that file, I could tell you downloaded it, but I couldn't
Yeah.
tell how many times you listened to it afterward.
Yeah,
And,
yeah.
and then right after that, the iTunes era was cool because there was money in it when somebody
Mhm.
pays $10 for your album. But personally, I prefer the way it is right now. I prefer Spotify. I prefer as an artist, I prefer that everybody, you can see all the statistics, and in the long run, say you would have bought my Scrub Life, say the technology was different, and you would have bought that Scrub Life CD
Yeah.
10 years ago, you probably still have the CD, and every time you listen to it, I wouldn't make anything. It'd just be the
No,
same,
exactly. Yeah.
you know. But now, like, say you're Pink Floyd, instead of
Mhm.
people just listening to their old CD of Pink Floyd, now they're listening to it on Spotify. You're kind of getting paid again, And a lot of
Yeah.
people,
Oh, that's interesting.
everybody wants to complain about how much they make off of streaming, but in most of those cases, it's like, well, dude, there's just not that many people streaming your album. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
you just got to build the numbers up. You know what I
I
mean? Because it's cool to get like something every month
yeah.
for listening to your old shit. You know what I mean?
That's really cool. And I think it goes back to like you were saying where no one cares unless you're a Bill Burr, unless you're Drake, unless like you're Kendrick. Yeah, people will buy a million copies of your album, and you honestly don't need Spotify and stuff. You want people to buy that shit because you sell it. But just like you said, with the Spotify, because everyone can listen and everyone can share, all it requires is this, $5 or $10 monthly membership. People discover more stuff. Like people who listen to this podcast can go listen to your music and vice versa because they don't have to buy my podcast. They don't have to go and like in a sense buy your album at Target. They don't have to go find the CD copy of it. It's so
Yeah.
readily available that I think for unless you're the 1%er of shit, it doesn't it honestly helps you a lot. It helps get your name out.
Yeah, it makes it so anybody can get a little sample of it. You know what I mean? They
Mm-hmm.
can get a free sample. I will say it probably makes it so, if every week you have the access to every single album that came out, you're probably not going to listen to each album as much as you like back in the day. You listen to what you had, so you'd like
Yeah.
memorize shit out of albums and become a big fan of an album. Where now people probably just listen to a little bit of everything. I don't know. I'm not a kid anymore, so I don't know how kids do it, but
Yeah, I mean
that's
they do because a big thing is like the new music Friday, like your Spotify will curate a playlist based off of what you've been listening to that week and gives you individual songs. So yeah, maybe if they're listening to you a lot, a song or two appears or like a similar artist, you appear on there. But yeah, I guess you're right because there is that aspect where we with technology, my generation just has a shorter attention span. Like because there's so much readily available to check things out. My only thought process that of helping the artists too is that I'm sure the notoriety does help and eventually hopefully sell tickets, because I'm sure that's another big thing is yeah, maybe you're not selling, a whole album for, however much it was, but you are, with more people knowing, there's more chance people buy tickets to shows and stuff. Do you feel that at all or no?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that leads into this point. No
Mm-hmm.
matter what, no matter how it's set up,
Yeah.
whether because people want to complain about fucking Spotify not
Yeah.
paying enough money. I give you the mixtape was free 10 years ago.
Yeah.
You just give it out for free. Napster was before that. Okay, put it on iTunes. See how much it makes. You have the option to put it on Bandcamp and see
Mm-hmm.
how it makes. And then this, the other side of that coin is I remember when I used to play small independent shows in way long time ago with my band, and
Yeah.
you would see like maybe another band on the show that didn't bring any fucking people into the venue, which somebody has to fucking own, operate,
Yeah.
pay taxes on and shit. And they're getting $90 to split between 5 people instead of 100, and the fucking singer's complaining like, man, we really worked hard to do that. It's like, dude, you're like, and those are the people that aren't going to make it. The
No,
people that are
exactly.
the people that are fucking complaining about nickels and dimes and not getting $5 at the independent show, not thinking about it from the perspective of the business and whatnot, and
Yeah.
just you kind of got to get through the fact that like, yeah, this shit ain't perfect. and
No.
and you know what, yeah, and you know what, this is the hurdle you have to jump. Like, it's not about, as soon as you're saying, hey guys, support me. And if you're mad at
Yeah.
people, if you're mad at people for not supporting you as if you're a fucking charity, that's the you don't want to be a charity. You want to be a provider of something that they want, that
Yeah.
they like, that they love, that they need. You don't want it to be like, support me because I want to be an artist. Of course it's great, like starting out, that people are going to do that, and your friends will come to your show and be your
Yeah.
friend, buy your CD, and all that stuff is helpful, and it's fucking awesome that they do that. But don't get mad because people don't support you. You know what I'm
No.
saying? Make art that is for lack of a better word, a product that people want, not a charity that they have to support. You know what I mean?
No, 100%, because it's the same way when I started this podcast. I'm I'm a nobody. Like I don't have a following. I don't have a Netflix special. I get it. And I don't take any offense to that. So my whole thing was, I was like, when I started this podcast, if 4 people listened, that was more than I could ask for. That's 4 people who took the time out of their day to check out my shit. And then more and more and more, and people, and it grows, and the better you make the product, the more people are going to listen. But it's the same way
Right.
where, like, I don't expect any of these people who listen, like if I was like, hey guys, here's a link if you want to start sending me money every episode you listen to. I don't expect them to. You listening to my music or listening to my podcast consistently and supporting my comedy is more than I can ask right
Right.
now. I don't have any entitlement to ask for money or anything like that from anyone.
Right. And I want to add a caveat to what I just said.
Yeah.
I want to say, like, I don't mean that to be like when I say that, keep in mind, like, I didn't make a living off this shit till I was 30. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's really more like I'm telling people that this thing is an exercise in stamina. I don't mean to tell people that if they don't have any fucking listeners, they're not making a good product, because
No.
there's a million people out there that are making better art than what the credit they get. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
100%.
So I don't mean it like, if you ain't doing well, your shit isn't good enough. You know what I mean? I just mean that, like, because I did this shit for 15 years before I was able to fucking eat off of it. You know what I'm saying? Probably more.
No, exactly. I don't think, if anyone did, they can stop being sensitive and go fuck themselves. But it's just what I got you. Yeah. It's one of those things. No, you're just saying that there's that entitlement where people, like you said, people think they deserve stuff for just showing up. Like you said, they didn't pack out anyone. They don't take into account that, well, yes, you are a band offering your service and performing, and performers should get paid, but there's also 12 people in this venue, and it costs more to keep the electricity and pay the workers than bar sales you brought in or ticket sales. So if
I heard of bands wanting to get paid. I never heard of bands sharing the losses. You know
yeah,
what I mean?
exactly. Could you
Never heard of
imagine?
that.
Could you imagine if they came up there like, hey, Wax, great show. You didn't get 30 people in here and we lost $20. We're actually going to need 10 from you because this is a 50-50 share. Like, that would be
Yeah, showing the
ridiculous,
accounting
dude.
of like, oh, we paid the dishwasher this much. You can see online. You know what I mean?
You're on
Yeah,
the hook for $39.54 for this trip. Please sign below. Like that.
that's hilarious. I bet you.
Yeah.
I guarantee you, there's places where that's happened before.
Oh, 100%. Like you like
Honky tonk bars in Texas. You know what I mean?
yeah. Yeah. Oh, we noticed you ate 3 granola bars from the green room. Those were $3, so we got to take that off. Like there's probably crazy places like that.
Yeah.
I've never thought about that. Yeah, you don't share the losses with the bar. Like a lot of times they take that on by hosting your show when you're not big and not bringing people. It's just
Dude, comedians can actually be the fucking worst with that shit too. Like comedians will get up on stage and piss the audience off so bad that a bunch of people leave and don't pay their
yeah.
bill. And then the comedian will be fucking, you guys don't know shit, man. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, they just walk half the crowd. You're like, you ruined
yeah,
this show. Like what why do you think you deserve to get paid? If you showed up to work in an office and smashed half the desk,
yeah,
sending the employees home, no, they're not going to pay you for that day. They're going to tell you
yeah.
good job.
I always think about that when I see somebody walk somebody at a comedy club,
Mm-hmm.
which I've seen many times,
Yeah.
And I get that sometimes it's the audience member's fault. A lot of
Yeah.
times it's the audience member being a pussy or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I always think like, well, they clearly didn't pay their check. And then maybe
Yeah.
I just saw them drinking margaritas and eating a bunch of food too. So is it this fucking comedian gonna pick up the bill, or is the fucking restaurant?
Yeah.
Because I'm sure there's some restaurants and comedy clubs that have come to the comedian afterwards and been like, listen, dude, that was your fault. That was uncalled
Yeah.
for. You're buying these drinks. You know what I mean?
No, exactly. Because yeah, there's totally audience members that are gonna get offended by the most like, dude, I'm joking type shit. But there's also like, we're people who all have, most artists aren't the most sane people who don't have the most realistic outlooks on life. So you're up there. Maybe your girlfriend was chewing your ass out earlier, and this guy's yelling during your set, and that's just the thing you needed. But I mean, yeah, some people just go over the top with it. I don't get it.
And it's tough too. I could talk about comedy a lot, but like
Mm-hmm.
when people first start out, especially, and if you're doing a lot of open mics, you've already seen what I'm about to talk
Yeah.
about. When somebody's doing bad with raunchy material and nobody's laughing, so they blame the audience because they go like, oh, you can't handle rape jokes, guys, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
we can handle the rape jokes. That just wasn't funny. You know
No.
what I'm saying?
Oh,
That's
dude,
the
that
most
is
fun thing to see.
that's my life 7 days a week, every night is, and not saying, look, I probably have sets where people are like, this guy fucking sucks. That's just part of it. But yeah, I call them, do you ever watch comedian Anthony Jeselnik?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I always call him like the wannabe Anthony Jeselnik. Like he has
Right.
that dark humor, but it's very funny. And that's the thing about dark humor, racial humor, all that touchy stuff. No one's telling you can't joke about it, but it's gotta be funny. Cause there's just, I mean, there's so much like just white people doing racial humor. Moving to Austin, I can't believe how much the R word and the F word are just like a punchline out here. Like in LA, people, maybe a little more woke, and you kind of know like, hey, unless it's a really funny punchline with that, I probably should try to avoid it. But here it still has that like 6th grade, like Call of Duty lobby humor where you're calling someone the F word and it's like, ha 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 ha. But
Right.
it's not even clever. Like, I don't know. So yeah, there's just
Do you think that a lot of the people that made that exodus to Austin, which so many people did, like, do you think that is like a reaction to the like the too woke version of comedy in Los Angeles?
I'm sure there's some people that would justify it. I think the thing is like a great example. One of our favorites is Bill Burr. Bill
Mm,
Burr says the craziest shit. He toes the line on everything, says shit that people would tell you is unacceptable to say, but
right.
because it's funny, it it crushes. So I think that it's less that I think people just it's just people not being funny. You're in the open mic scene, so there's going to be people who say not funny shit, and I think that because it's Austin and it's Texas, so it's a little more red and a little less liberal, that it just kind of comes out here. But I don't know. I don't think the good comedians really had that problem. I don't think any good comedian was like, I could be the next Bill Burr, but these pussies here in LA, they're the ones keeping me down. No, it's not
Right.
like that. I think more people came out here like me looking for an opportunity because it was a less opportunity for me in Orange County, making a 45-minute drive to LA to do a mic, where here I can drive, 45 minutes total and I hit 4 times the mic. So
Right. Yeah.
I think more for opportunity and maybe a little less, but the crowds are definitely a little more loose out here. But like, not to just like blabber about the comedy scene, but like one thing that doesn't fly as well out here is like slightly, like, for lack of a better word, like gay jokes, like,
Mhm.
like the punchline being like, yeah, and then I kissed them, or like, something where like it's a funny way to spin, like talking about like dicks, like anything that's slightly like in that community, you can feel the more uncomfortableness out here, if that
Mm,
makes sense. They don't like to talk about it as much, but that's just a southern thing. I lived in Kentucky for 2 years for college,
mhm.
um and I felt the same thing with a lot of southern people I met, that it's kind of almost like a topic you don't talk about, in a sense,
Right. Right.
which is just, it changes some dynamics. And not saying all jokes have to be about that, or all my jokes are, but there's definitely some that you're like, oh, that worked in LA and they do not like that out here. So just kind of finding that balance, I suppose.
I get it.
Yeah, one second. I wanted to move into one of the segments we do on this podcast. It's called the Avid Deserter segment. I'm a big dessert guy. I'm gonna lose all my teeth by the time I'm 30. I want to hear your 3 favorite desserts and your least favorite dessert. Um, and
Okay.
the only thing is just don't be basic and be like, I like cake, ice cream, and cookies. Like, what kind of cake, what kind of ice cream, what kind of cookies?
I like the mint chocolate cookies and cream by Ben and Jerry's, where they have the actual full Oreo kind of vibes that
Oh, okay, yeah.
in them. I kind of super fuck with just Ben and Jerry's ice cream. People like all these fancy kind of like gourmet places like Salt and Straw, for example, where they make
Yeah.
ice cream that's kind of like, they might have a weird flavor. It's like, we have a new lavender blueberry ice
Dude,
cream. You
that's
know what
so
I like?
funny that,
You know what
yeah.
I like? I like fucking Yogurt Land. First of
Yes,
all, first
dude.
of all, I prefer the texture of frozen yogurt over ice cream all day. It's kind of more like a
Hmm.
Wendy's Frosty, and I like to
Yeah.
put fucking Kit Kats, Reese's,
Yes,
Nutter Butter,
yes.
brownies. I like fucking stupid shit like that. For ice cream, like chocolate frozen yogurt that's full of
Hmm.
like just crunchy shit, Butterfingers, Kit Kats, Snickers bars.
Hmm.
Like I said, my favorite is when, and I use the Nutter Butter as a spoon. You know what I'm saying? I
I
use the
love
Nutter
it.
Butter like an old Fun Dip spoon, where you get as many scoops out of it as a spoon as you can. Then when it gets too soggy, you
Hmm.
fucking just eat it. You know what I mean?
That's,
Uh,
yeah, that's next level yogurt land right there. I fuck with it.
and I like that. I always like it better than, like, when you go to like a kind of like an artisan type of ice cream place
Hmm.
where they make their own ice cream, but it's still just like every bite's the same. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I don't get that, because I'm also gonna pay like $5 more for my 2 scoops of that artisan ice cream than I
Mhm.
would for my pound of yogurt land with all the toppings in it and stuff. So yeah, I agree with you. It's funny that you said lavender, because I literally were like, those artisan ones, and in my head I was like, those bullshit lavender flavors that they have, like they're
Right.
so, I don't get who, like, why would you want your ice cream to taste like that? It doesn't make sense to me.
You know what made me think of lavender was this was a while ago. I was with this girl, and we were at a coffee place. I live in San Diego now.
Yeah.
And I'm a fucking, when I go to, I don't even look at the menu at a coffee place. I go, let me get a coffee with cream and 2 sugars. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Hot coffee. If they ask me what kind, I'm like, which one is the hottest? You know?
Yeah.
But she goes, oh, you're so East Coast. So East Coast with your I just want a coffee with cream and sugar. Yeah. And then she immediately ordered like the lavender. I don't remember if it was a lavender Americano or a lavender latte, but it had the fucking word lavender and it had lavender in it. And I was like, well, if that's East Coast, that's as West Coast as possible. A fucking
for
lavender.
Real, yeah.
You made fun of me for putting cream and sugar in my coffee. You're putting lavender in yours.
Yeah, that's some that like you should be handed that at a Pilates studio that's connected to like a Charles Schwab, like the most bougie place you could think of.
Well, you know, this current sentiment in America where people think California is this, they're like, yeah, every time I say something on social media that's anything political, there's somebody that's like, oh, living in California makes you crazy. Oh, you fucking liberal, whatever. Like that's something they would think. What do you put fucking lavender in your coffee? You fucking, you know what I mean?
No, 100%. Like that's something that people will make fun of, like kids who are like the next generation of adults will be saying that to like the liberal woke kids. You drink, you put pumpkin spice in all your lattes, huh? Like it's the same thought process of all that.
Yeah.
What do you have a least favorite dessert? I love to hear people's least favorites.
Yeah, yellow cake, like
yellow cake. Okay.
I like whenever there was a birthday back in the day, people would be like, "Yeah, we're having cake and ice cream." I'm like, why have the cake?
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe if it was like chocolate cake or fucking maybe I know some people like carrot cake, maybe some people like cake, but just fucking yellow cake. Yellow cake is like and this is a horrible example because sugar cookies are still kind of good. Yellow cake is like a sugar cookie. It's just not really anything involved, but like there's only so good a yellow cake can really get. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
An underrated dessert is a brownie. You know?
Yes. Yeah.
A brownie is a very underrated dessert in that, you know, you like a cookie, you like a cake, but like the in between is the brownie. Like a cookie fucked a cake, brownie, and it's like the perfect. Like I'd prefer any cake to be more of a brownie consistency than a cake consistency. You know what I mean?
I agree with you. Well, and the kids' cakes too, like you're talking about the birthday cake, dude, that shit's like, all right, so it's coated in frosting and then cake and then a thin layer of frosting and then cake and more frosting. And like, dude, you eat that shit and you're on the freeway on the way home just fucking shaking, gripping onto your steering wheel and shit. Like they're gross. Like it's like eating cotton candy. It's just all sugar. You're asking to just feel like shit 30 minutes later.
Cotton candy, I guess, could have been an example of that kind of thing too. But at least cotton candy is interesting. It's like, it's like, oh, it's a cloud.
It's light. It's lighter.
Yeah. It feels like that's what you would walk on if you were in heaven. You know what I mean? Like,
it's that. Yeah. It I don't know. Just as like the older I get, like the less sweet shit I can handle. The more that like stuff 5 years ago, I was like, that looks amazing, disgusts me. Like, you know, those, like I had a milkshake with a piece of cake on top of it. And it had like cake blended into it. It was it's this place called, I think it's called Black Tap. There's one in in downtown Disney. There's one in like New York. I had it when I was visiting New York and shit. And like, dude, I mean, it is a milkshake made with blended up cake, rimmed with sprinkles, with a whole slice of cake on top. And it literally, like 2 bites in, you can feel your veins clogging, just fading into cardiac arrest. It's disgusting.
Damn, dude. Sounds kind of good. It's funny because I quit drinking booze a couple years ago. And like, you know, if you drink a ton of beer every day, you're drinking, you don't really realize it, but you're drinking like so much sugar. Yeah. I never, when I used to drink all the time, I never cared about desserts. But once I quit drinking, I just every day I would be craving something. Like all of a sudden I started craving ice cream and milkshakes and stuff like that. And now Now I eat ice cream too much. You know what I mean? I eat a lot of fucking ice cream.
I have a family member who like just quit drinking, and he's the same way now, where he literally like he no more 6 packs of beer, but a 6 pack of soda, candy, anything
Yeah,
he
yeah.
can get his hand on. Or I mean, even like it was funny because they rebooted Jersey Shore a couple years ago. And that first season they came back, and like the situation's sober now. And he was the situation, shirt off, abs. And he's just kind of like a little fat now because he
Right.
can't stop, because he's sober. He can't stop having sweets, getting that sugar in. So it's always kind of you definitely see that with people when they quit drinking and all that.
Right, right. That's funny because you could go one of two ways. You quit drinking and get fat, or you quit drinking and get skinny and in shape or whatever,
Yeah.
because the alcohol puts on that fucking awful layer, and especially in your face, you know.
Oh, you're so blow. I mean, even like I'm still young, but even the night after I drink versus the night I don't, there's such a clear difference in my
Oh
face and
yeah.
how you feel and look and everything.
Mm-hmm.
How long has it been now for you
2.5
sober?
years.
That's awesome, man. Congrats.
Thanks, man.
Do you feel like it's changed your music a bunch? Because obviously, I mean, you have like some of your more iconic songs like Music and Liquor, and you have a bunch of songs about drinking and stuff. Do you feel that it's like harder to write lyrics now, or do you just kind of write about other stuff?
I think it goes up and down.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if I still drank now, like I did when I was younger, doing all that stuff, like it would just be, back in the day when I was younger and I would like drink and work.
Yeah.
I was a little bit more productive, but
Yeah.
now I would be unproductive and non-creative. So I think yeah. So I just look at it like that. I ain't really got any songs that I was gonna write about being a alcoholic. I probably already wrote. I've already wrote kind of
Yeah.
like the same. You don't want to write the same song, and
Yeah.
that's literal and metaphoric. Like you don't want your life to be. That's the thing with alcohol. It's like same, 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 same. You're not. And
Yeah.
after a while, you don't learn anything from it. And you're just, and I don't know. I We'll see. We'll see
Mm-hmm.
what I've been writing a shitload of lyrics recently, so
Hell yeah.
at least it's not like a block.
Yeah,
So
no, I get you, because I mean, yeah, there's so many. Obviously, it's not like your music is only about drinking, or that there's not a million other things to write to. I was just kind of curious with it changing and stuff. Do you ever like, since you've quit drinking, have you almost written like a song about alcohol where it was more like you were reminiscing and it felt like therapeutic to get that out, or do you feel like you just kind of don't really put out music about it anymore? Or you're not
no, it's
going
like
to.
what I look. The way I look at it is like Jay-Z been rapping about selling crack, and he hadn't sold crack in 30 years.
Yeah,
He still knows what it's like to sell crack, or Pusha
yeah,
T, even better example, because he only fucking raps about
yeah,
how
yeah.
much coke and he hasn't sold coke since the 90s. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
Let's be, or whatever that one. I don't know when,
Yeah,
but he
he's
ain't.
rich now. He lives in a gated house. He's not out on the working the corner slinging dope anymore.
Yeah, but he still rhymes about it because he still knows about it. So
Hmm.
if I could write a song right now, I could write a drinking song right now and totally understand the joys of drinking and understand why people like
Okay.
it, understand how it's communal and understand the concept of everybody raising their glass and clinking it and fucking slam it.
Yeah.
Because I've been there, I've done it. So, and I totally, and also like, especially in our culture, like that like celebratory drinking at bars and events and weddings and blah blah blah. This is also where one of the main parts of our culture where we use music too.
Hmm.
So it all kind of goes hand in hand, like music and drugs basically go hand in hand.
Yeah.
Whether it's alcohol or another kind of drug, it all goes hand in hand.
Yeah, no, I get you. And then of course that, I mean, that relatable music's fun. I mean, to this day, I think me and my friends can't get on a bike when we've had a few and not someone reference two wheels in some sense, just because, like you said, you know how it felt and you made that moment, and it's such a relatable moment through a song and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's interesting, man. I appreciate that. That's cool that you guys vibe with that one. That's a funny one too, because in that song I say I'm gonna keep drinking till the day I die.
Yeah.
Like, so now if I sing that song, one could argue like That's all. If I was a politician, it would be looked
Yeah.
at like flip-flopping. You know what I'm saying? But I'm
You'd be
not.
a good politician then.
That's how I was at the time. That's how I was feeling at the time. Whatever, you know.
Yeah, no. That's I mean, yeah, and it's shy. It's in a sense it has to be. I mean, I'm sure you're not. I don't know how like what most artists do. I don't think you just like throw on your own music and listen to it often, but you do have in a sense almost like a catalog of your life of how you were living life and how different things were. I mean, you can listen to, one of your early songs and then listen to, something you just put out and see how different you're living just through the lyrics. It's a cool time capsule in a sense.
Absolutely. That's absolutely true. And there's like a general vibe of like how was I living in 2014? You can listen to the
Mhm.
songs and get a general sense of how you're living. But at the same time, even within 2014, one day you might have woke up feeling good. And then the next day you might have woke up feeling shitty. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
totally get you. All right, so we're gonna start moving into the end of this podcast. I got two more things. We're gonna end it with a few would you rather's, but I have a few like fan questions for you from friends and fans like that. A few that I wanted answered. So these will be less sophisticated questions and possibly more stupid. I will start you off with the dumbest one, and I'll let you know that I wrote this. Who do you think would win in a fight, Dale Firebird or Bobby Bloodbath? And
That's
for those
funny.
of you who don't know, those are two of your like alter egos in a sense. Bobby Bloodbath only made, I think, one appearance though, right? And then Dale Firebird is I heard you not too long ago talk about with Dumbfounded about how like it's aged not poorly, but for the lack of a better word, where he's Dale Firebird would not be well perceived in some times like this.
Yeah. Well, that's funny. First of all, thanks for being a fan. If you that
Yeah,
question shows me that you know some shit about my
it's a
music.
deep cut. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a deep cut. It's a deep cut. But yeah, I always talk about how uh the idea of like the American flag toting redneck has become less and less cute. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I grew up in an area where people were like that. I grew up in the kind of a redneck area, and I had a lot of friends who were like that and shit. But now it's becoming our country so fucking divisive, and you know, some people are using the American flag in a way that they shouldn't. You know, and
Yeah. Yeah. No, totally.
it's kind of fucking it up, and it makes people like me
Yeah.
bad because like it wasn't like that when I was a kid. You know, it
No,
wasn't,
dude.
or maybe
Like,
I just didn't perceive it like that. I don't
no,
know.
you're right
You know?
because even I mean, 4th of July is coming up. It's in a few days.
Yeah,
And I know that if I were to post like a picture with an American flag and like sparklers and be like, love this country, there would be a lot of people that are like, you're a piece of shit, dude. There's problems wrong with this. What the fuck is, and it's like, whoa, like I just wanted to watch fireworks and have a few beers with my
right.
friends. Like it's 4th of July. I don't work today. Calm down.
Yeah, they need to chill out. But I know,
Yeah.
of course, I get what they mean. This country does have a fucked up history for
Yeah,
sure.
and there's also like the people like who stormed the Capitol using the American flag as the wrong symbol, like you were talking about, shit like that. So it's a
Right,
very
and
touchy subject.
they are the people that have paired it like a white wine with a Chilean sea bass, paired that flag
Yeah,
with the Confederate flag, with the Trump flag, and at some points even the fucking swastika. You know what I'm saying? Like some
yeah,
they have ruined these people have tarnished the image of the flag, unfortunately. But going back to your question, I would have to go with Dale Firebird in the fight because
hmm
I think that he just wouldn't die. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I mean, he's been burned. He's fought snakes in the wilderness, all kinds
Yeah.
of crazy shit. So I get what you're saying. Now that you've deemed Dale Firebird the winner, do you think Dale Firebird could beat Larry the Cable Guy in a fight?
Yeah, all
Yeah.
day.
Okay.
Yeah,
He's
yeah.
just the average Joe American. He's not a true American like Dale Firebird. That's where they're different.
Yeah, I don't think Larry the Cable Guy, even the character, if he was a real guy, like presents himself in a tough kind of way. You know, he's more
Yeah.
like, you know, I think Dale Firebird, like he like was raised in the wild, like he knows how to, like he could live in a pack of wolves. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Larry the Cable Guy still needs 7-Eleven and shit to survive. You know?
Yeah.
He needs Mountain Dew and shit. You know?
Yeah, he can't thrive without this shit. Okay, that was my fan question. Now I got a few more for you just from some people. One of them was someone wanted to know how you came up with the name Wax. And I always find that I know it's kind of a basic to ask a rapper question, but I mean, it's always fascinating because there's guys like, Childish Gambino who it came from a random name generator and shit like that. And I know that there's also there's like a band called Wax that you run into problems with and stuff like
Oh, there's
that.
way
So,
more than one.
yeah.
There's so many. There's tons of bands named Wax. There's other rappers named Wax. There's singer songwriters named Wax. There's a K-pop girl named Wax. There's a South African folk singer named Wax. There's a million people.
Wow. Yeah.
So I always run into problems with that in the internet era where Spotify gets confused as to whether it's my song or somebody else's song, for example. But I always have wished that I had a better story for the origin of the name, because the truth of it is I don't really remember. Like, I remember when I was like maybe 14 or 15, I started calling myself Wax, and I think I just thought it sounded cool.
Yeah.
I know there was a character in Menace to Society named Wax, and I thought that sounded cool, but I don't think I like based it on that. I remember that Beastie Boys said wax about vinyl, and it's the way he's like something wax, wax, wax. I just thought it was a cool word. I really wish that I could tell you that, like, some anecdote about where I got the name. I've told people I've made up shit before. Like, wax is like, I'm a versatile. I do a lot of different things. I rap, I sing, I play guitar, I write songs, I produce, I do comedy, I do all this shit. So it's like wax is a versatile substance. It can be like a solid, a liquid.
I like
you can
that.
hold it in a thing. It can hold the fire. The skateboarders use it to make things slippery, where the surfers use it to make it stick. You know what I mean? Plus, it's always in your ears. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
okay, I like that. Yeah, that's
I've like made up shit like that. But the real truth of it is, I don't really have a origin story for it. I can't remember that, like, when that light bulb happened. I don't remember naming myself, and I did name myself. It wasn't like most people get their nickname because somebody gave them their nickname.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mine was not like that. I'm pretty sure I gave it to myself.
That's they always
I don't remember doing it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's cool then. I was just curious, and and someone else actually asked the question too. So that I mean, if you want, I could just clip it where you say all that cool wax stuff, and we could make it seem like that's how you came up with the name. You can start rolling with that and shit.
Right. Well, I think that the better way to do it is to not clip any of it and have all that stuff you just said, and even the suggestion to clip it and this further explanation of it all intact. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and then people will hear you tell them, they'll be like, I don't know, I heard otherwise, and it'll catch on. It'll become the lore.
The human memory is really weird, because for example, I'll hear like a song I haven't heard since the 80s, and I can fucking sing every lyric to it. But that moment when I decided to call myself Wax, I have no fucking recollection of it. You know what I mean? Like, things your memory just doesn't store certain moments. Was there a moment that I don't know? You know what I mean?
No, I agree with you. Like, I have been doing comedy a year and a half, and I can't like, most comedians will be like, I remember one of the first jokes. I don't remember the first jokes I told. Like, and it's only been a year and a half, and maybe I just have a shit ton of brain damage from football, and it's the CTE kicking in or some shit like that. But I mean, I don't remember it. So yeah, like you said, it's very selective with the things that we seem to remember.
Wow, man,
all right.
Early in the game, man. That's fucking awesome, dude. Good for you, stepping out and doing that shit and doing it.
No, I appreciate it. It means a lot. Thank you. All right, this is the last fan question I got for you. So like your song Crazy X, just released it on the album of I forgot the name of it, but it has all the old songs. Isn't it like Wax's what's it called? So I can stop guessing names like an asshole.
Old songs from YouTube that weren't on streaming services until now.
Okay, see, I no longer feel bad that I didn't remember that name, because
I don't know that I was right either. I don't know that what I just said was right either. Yeah.
Well, that's perfect. But yeah, just we were listening, I've been listening to that just came out. Do you have any like crazy fan stories or like stalker stories, anything like that? Did you ever get to that point where you had like a crazy stalker or a person where they maybe crossed the line too far where it made you uncomfortable or like scared maybe?
Yeah. And I'm going to say this quick story because I think somebody could actually learn something from it. if you ever sell, you know, a lot of people that do any kind of art, they're gonna end up
Mhm.
selling merch, you know.
Yeah.
And if you ever sell merch, you gotta have you never ever put your return address on something.
Mm.
Never, if a fan wants to send you something, don't give motherfuckers your address. You know what
Okay.
I mean? Have a PO box, something.
Yeah.
Uh, I have like a PO box now, which it's kind of weird now because I live in San Diego and it's in LA. Blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
This is when I very first started, like when I very first moved to LA and started kind of like people knowing who I was a little bit, and I
Hmm.
started selling T-shirts and CDs and shit online, and you know, I was only selling one or two, like nobody was. It was like I was very fucking unknown. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And I wasn't even really thinking about the fact that, like, you know, I just learned in elementary school, when you send a package, you write their address and you write your return address.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then one day I was sitting in my apartment, you know, with my roommates that I had at the time, and this motherfucker fucking comes to the door. They got the
Oh,
package and they got the shirt, and they just, like, without fucking skipping a beat, they were like, I don't remember exactly what the sizes were, but they were like, "Hey, I got this large, and I actually need an extra large. Can you give me an extra large?"
what?
Knocked on my door. You know
That's
what I
that
mean?
just like, because that's not the creepiest thing they could have said, but like the way that their mind works, like why you didn't just return it, like why you thought like, yeah, I should show up and that's so weird.
I remember it very specifically too, because me and my roommate Tony at the time, it was like a Saturday afternoon, and we were like kind of partying. Like it was
The
like
pregame.
we were drinking, and
Yeah.
just, it was like that kind of day. We had a pool in the courtyard of the apartment I lived in at the time,
Yeah.
and we were just having a day where, and it was just like, what the fuck, you know, it was just really
Yeah.
surprising. So you don't really know what people are going to do, and you should never give away your address, especially now. It's so, you just type it in, it's like there, you know, you should never give away your address.
No, yeah, that's I mean that's something like you know, I don't have to worry about as much, but even like we moved to this, you know, I moved to this new apartment. I talked about it on the podcast. My girlfriend will she'll be on occasionally, kind of just like when, you know, when there's no guests, she'll hop on and people seem to enjoy, and we're giving like a recap, and I was like, "Yeah, I'll give you guys like on one of the episodes I'll have like an apartment tour and I'll show you the lot it's on." And she was like, "No, like if you start to gain any fandom, like why we're here. I don't want anyone being able to go back and find where we live and showing up while you're gone or just showing up." And I'm like, oh, yeah, like I guess I didn't even think about that. So that's really, really good advice because I have stickers and I've sent them out and I definitely put my return address on every single one of them. So
Don't, dude,
now I
don't.
know.
And I want to emphasize that when I did that,
Hmm.
I didn't have fans. I
Yeah.
only had a couple fucking, I sold 2 or 3 t-shirts, and it was one of the first few that I sold that was
Wow.
so it's like, it doesn't matter, like, if you're quote unquote famous or not famous
Hmm.
or whatever. You just shouldn't ever give away your fucking address, because it only takes one weirdo to fucking kill you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, Jesus. That's so crazy. Yeah. I
Especially if you're a woman.
Yeah, no, that's wild. All right, the last question before we move into the would you rather's and wrap it up. I like to ask a lot of artists this question on my podcast, and this is fun because I've never gotten to necessarily ask an artist who's slightly more established. But where do you see yourself in 10 years? Like where would you like to see Wax in 10 years? And I guess that might be a little more aggressive question for you. No offense, you are a little older than me, but you know, for me, I could be like, I want to be 33 and doing this, where, you know, I understand it's a little different.
Yeah.
So sorry if I gave you like an existential crisis right now. And you're like, what
No,
do I want to do in
well,
10 years?
you know, I try to, I'm always in a state of existential crisis, but I try to kind of tell people, and it's partially true, that one of the fun things about doing this shit is that that's a question you can't answer. You know, like
Okay. Yeah.
when you have kind of like a regular job, you can
Yeah.
see. I mean, in terms of, like, you get paid every Friday, you can expect to get a raise here and here and here, and
Yeah.
you can kind of see where you're gonna be. I could like wake up tomorrow and write a hit song, you know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
like in 2 years, I could be like not a billionaire, but in 2 years, I could be like a multimillionaire, or in 2 years,
Mhm.
I could be like damn near homeless. You know what I'm saying? And
Yeah, that's
there's
crazy.
something exciting about that.
Hmm.
I will say that like I'm not married or have any kids or anything like that. And I feel like 10 years from now, I probably should be aiming to have a life partner kind of thing. I don't know
Yeah,
if
yeah.
that's fucking even true. I don't even know if that's true, but I think the real honest thing is like I don't spend too much time thinking about that. And I
Okay.
never really like 10 years earlier, I wouldn't have been able to tell you that. I would have answered the question as vaguely as I just did. You know what I mean? I wouldn't have,
Okay.
I mean, I think I'd be happy. I think 10 years ago, me would be happy with where I'm at now, I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, if 10 years ago, me would be like, if I'm still doing music as a career, cool. You know what I mean? I probably would have
No,
been.
yeah, that's a good answer though. Like even though I know it's wasn't like very set in stone, but it's a good point because I ask a lot of people that and they give ideas, and I think it's good to have goals. But I think you also brought up a good point that like I could dream for this, and that, and I could get none of those, but I might be even happier with the thing that I wasn't thinking about. So there's that's a good
Yeah.
way to look at it, is that it's not always it's not like the grass isn't always greener on the other side. What you want always isn't what's best for you.
And a lot of the blessings are so unexpected. Some of it, like
Mm-hmm.
take in my career, I had a song that I did become like the number one song on the pop charts in Austria for four
Yeah.
weeks in a row, and it was like a song about a nymphomaniac girl, and
Is
it's
that
like
a not to interrupt you, is that was another fan question. Is that about a real person, or did you just kind of was it just kind of an idea? Like is there a
like
real
it's
Rosanna?
it's it's just like when you write a joke and it's based on a real story, but you
Okay.
exaggerate to make it funny. It's like it
Yeah.
is definitely based on a real person. It's based on a real day. It's based on a day I had with my,
Ah, okay.
my girl at the time.
That's funny.
It was based on her like one day of our relationship.
Yeah.
But
Sorry, not to interrupt you. So yeah, what were you saying?
no, I don't remember what I was saying.
You're talking about like how you're talking about like the
Oh
unpredicted the
yeah,
blessings, Austria, Rosanna. Yeah.
nothing in my 5 year plan about having success in Austria. I never even been
Yeah.
to Austria. And a lot of people fuck up and accidentally have a kid. You ask them 10 years later, the kid was the biggest blessing in their entire life. They wouldn't
Yeah.
have called that. My favorite one is if you've seen the Quincy Jones documentary. Quincy Jones produced the song Fly Me to the Moon that Frank Sinatra did back in the day.
Yeah.
And when they went to the fucking moon, Neil Armstrong and them dudes, when they got on the moon, they played Fly Me to the Moon.
That's
And Quincy
crazy.
Armstrong and Quincy Jones in the documentary goes, first song they played on the moon. Couldn't have predicted that, couldn't have planned that shit. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? So that's
That's
kind of
so
like
true.
that's kind of like the ultimate example of that.
Hmm.
But a lot of your blessings are unplanned. Obviously, your fucking tragedies are unplanned too. When you're 10
Yeah.
years old, you're not going to go, well, I want two kids, a wife, a picket fence, and I want my best friend to die. That's in my two fucking, you know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? You don't fucking, shit ain't as predictable as you think. So sometimes it's fun to just not place too many of your bets on your outcome that you hope for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's really really good advice. I appreciate that, and I know the listeners will. All right, so we're gonna wrap it up. I got two last would you rather's for you. First one is, would you rather win the lottery or live twice as long? So,
Oh yeah.
because there's that
Live
concern where,
twice as long. Live twice as long for sure.
okay, yeah. My only thought about the twice as long is you will outlive loved ones. Now you can meet like your grandkids and that next generation, but if you're going to live 70 years or 80 years, double that is 160. If you live 160 years, I mean, there's going to be a lot of people you love that are gone by the time you pass. There is that
There's so
emptiness of,
many. There's a lot of questions that I have too in this hypothetical world where you're
okay,
on.
well, yeah, what are they?
I mean, do you just kind of like look 80 for 80 years, or do you like look 110 and look 120? Because like
No, you could progress
that's
slowly.
Okay, so you're basically every 2 years you progress 1 year.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'd rather do that, and that is really sad that you would lose all your loved ones. Hopefully you'd hope, like, if you just lived in a senior home for a long time, hopefully you just be playing backgammon and shit or whatever.
Yeah.
That would get boring, but I don't know. I still think it's probably at least you'd be able to like see like where technology goes and
Experience life more than even though that person has millions of dollars who won the lottery, you will experience life more than they did.
well, anybody who's ever seen a bunch of documentaries and shit knows that winning the lottery usually ruins your life.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah.
You know, most people that win the lottery, it doesn't improve their life; it ruins their fucking life.
That's so fucking terrible. You win the lottery and just fuck your whole life up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that'd be so. I couldn't imagine. Yeah, that shit. Yeah, because it's so much. The weird thing is it's so much money that you're like, how could they blow it all? But I mean, if you have nothing and then you have everything, it's very easy to just spend like there's no tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's that thing that you know, that thing that people say where like there's like, you know, if you have $10 million or if you have $20 million,
Mm-hmm.
not really a happiness difference. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like
Yeah.
once you got all your basic shit covered, it doesn't really make you happier necessarily to have two Porsches rather than one. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah. Like as long as you can have the nice, like your necessities are very nice. The other
Yeah,
stuff is just luxury. Yeah, maybe with 10 million you can't
dude.
own a yacht, but
She's not going to listen to this podcast. I've met somebody recently who's a friend of a friend
mhm.
who grew up regular in terms of socioeconomic status, but now is married to somebody that's from like the billionaire class.
Wow, yeah.
And now they have this really nice house. And it's just like she's obsessing over all the details of this really, really nice house.
Mhm.
And it just causes, and I just, for somebody who just met this person, like I see the stress that having this nice thing causes, like the ultimate mo money, mo problems thing.
Yeah.
And like I just see like, well, if she did, we're all jealous that she has this nice house that's gonna have all this
Mhm.
nice stuff in it, but for her, it's just this source of stress. Like it's been years they've been building this house or whatever,
Yeah.
and she's just painstakingly going over each and every fucking line item and fucking, you know, the cabinet doesn't have the right type of handles on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
just being neurotic about it.
who gives a shit? That this is a new problem that you wouldn't have had before. Like people, I mean, you know, I really do believe that there's a lot of people out there that are just they just are genuinely pleased with shiny things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, totally.
And don't really have like deeper kind of thoughts, you know, or something like
Mhm.
that. I don't know. I think some people are just genuinely pleased with a bunch of money and stuff, you know, but most people once they have all this shit realize it's really just like it's not only another source of joy, it's another source of pain and stress, you know what I mean?
Yeah, totally. It's again just like we are talking about, like the grass isn't always greener, like shit's always not as sweet as it seems to be. So I guess, yeah, I guess I would rather enjoy, like you said, enjoy the life you have twice as long. You can see how things play out. Like you have time to, travel, but also enjoy like a day at home. Like enjoy both sweet spots of life with that. Basically, you get 2 days for every one day. You're going to buy
Right.
one get one free on life. So I guess I'd go with the live twice as long too. This one's the last one. I felt like this was good because you're a performer too, so this one will be a little tough. Would you rather live in a world full of deaf people or a world full of nonstop babblers? So people either can't stop talking at your shows or no one can really listen. I mean, I know they can like feel vibrations and stuff like that, but it definitely, you would need like someone, everyone's gonna mostly speak sign language, all that kind of stuff.
That's a weird one because I'd have to I can't really think of what the experience of like the phrase nonstop babblers, like it's like You mean like really everybody's just constantly like what I'm doing right now? Everybody's really much constantly doing this, and they're never ever having a time where there's a silence. Everybody just keeps on talking like this and over and over again, like I'm currently doing right now.
Yes, that's yeah, like you're filibustering life, like a New York subway. Life's like a New York fucking subway, just chatter, bullshit. This guy's talking about chicken. This guy's talking about stocks. These guys are talking about the sports game, but everyone's just blabbering nonsense.
I'd rather have deaf.
Deaf, okay.
Yeah,
I think so too. There's something cool about sign language too. Like I always wish I knew sign language. It would just I don't some about it is just kind of sick. And then I don't think I could deal with people not shutting up all the time because
because you think about all this, you think about all the stuff like music or the sounds we enjoy, it'd be ruined by the blabbering anyway.
Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Yeah, I guess that's true. Yeah, having like go play your favorite song right now, but turn the volume down and like stand in the middle of a busy street. You can't hear shit. That's what it would be like. It's
yeah, you'd have to like go to the desert by yourself, but you would think even if you were, the thing is you'd be one of the blabbering people. That's what deaf all day.
Yeah, no,
you'd be doing it too. You're part of humanity, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay, I agree with you. Yeah, so I'm going with the world full of deaf people then. All right, man. Well, that's pretty much the podcast. I really appreciate you doing it. This is the time where I give you the floor to plug all your stuff and anything like that. So go ahead. The floor is yours.
All right. Well, my name is Wax. If you go to YouTube, you could just type in the search bar like Wax Rapper, and you'll find a bunch of my stuff there. You could you can find Wax on Spotify. I have a website, which is wax.com, waxdotcom.com. As I said that, I realized I can't remember the last time I looked at my website. I hope it's still fucking up. I think it is though. When I'm not doing shows, like my website mostly is like, is he doing? It's the calendar is the most, because everything else is like my Instagram and Twitter is at Big Wax.
Yeah, it'll be in the bio too, guys.
Cool. And I have a TikTok, which Big Wax was already taken. So now it's Big Wax with 2 X's at the end is my TikTok. I need to step my shit up. I need to update it more. I've been slacking on that. I like that was one of those things where this year I'm like, I'm gonna do TikTok, and then I did a few TikToks of that. I
told myself the same. I only post like podcast clips in my food reviews, and other than that, I literally like it's just became basically I don't ever use it. I was the same way where I told there's literally a point where I was like, every day I'm gonna make a new TikTok, and then I was like,
do you do food reviews on Instagram?
Yeah, which is so funny because I
want to follow you now. So I don't forget. What's your Instagram?
It's at and then Brandon and then my last name is LEGE.
Legendre.
Yeah, and then the underscore at the end. Yeah, I do these like minute food reviews. They're very kind of like
Welcome back to your last review. I'm a Texan now, and this week we're doing What a Burger. What a burger. More like what a piece of shit. I haven't been this disappointed since the last time I took a shirtless mirror selfie. I can't believe that Texans have somehow convinced themselves that this is better than In-N-Out. That'd be like saying Taylor Swift has a nicer ass than Megan Thee Stallion. And just like the restaurants, I'd eat both. Texans, the fact that you know what? SpongeBob, you take this one away.
Hey Patrick, what am I now?
Stupid?
No, I'm Texas.
What's the difference?
Texas, baby, book me still. All jokes aside, the patty melt is fire. And the fries here aren't soggier than my underpants in the Texas humidity. 3.5 out of 5 stars, and see you next time on your last review.
They have the Andrew Schultz style where it's images next up to me. I'm so mad. I literally have it written down because I wanted to talk to you more about you doing food reviews because you do Snacks with Wax. I'm a huge fan of the chain reactions. Those were all great and stuff. Because mine is basically I do a minute food review and I post all of them on Yelp, and then one day I'll become a master Yelper, which I think is such like a corny concept. So the whole thing is a joke in a sense. So I think so.
I think that's good. I think that's a great concept, dude.
Oh, thank you. I mean, I'm not shitting on it because I love doing them, and I do them. I try to do them every Monday. They normally come out. There'll be one out tonight or tomorrow. But it's just that concept that they're a minute. They're just quick and punchliney, easy to edit, and then slowly one day I'll just be Brandon Lejean, the master Yelper. And like master Yelpers get like free food. They get invited to like tasting events at big thing. Like there's a whole South Park episode on how much power Yelpers have. So that's kind of the idea of it. And I definitely got to pay some homage to you because you got me into food.
Oh, thanks, man. Well, you know, I always tell people like Snacks with Wax, for example, like I don't care about snacks. It's a fucking vehicle. It's a vehicle for comedy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly.
I care about jokes and talking shit. Like I don't care about Twinkies. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was gonna say like with the Yelp review thing, like you seen that episode of Black Mirror where everybody starts to be reviewable.
Yes, that episode's fucking insane.
I think that is one of their episodes where they really are predicting the future too. Like, whether it's your Uber driver or every single restaurant and store, like the emphasis we're placing, and all of us are guilty of it. When I see a bunch 4.5-star Yelp restaurant, I'll go there. You know what I'm saying? It's such a good vehicle. It's such a good tool for when you go on tour. If you're a touring musician, like, and you're in a town you never been to, and you want to know how good a restaurant is. The shame of it is like, it's like, now the customer really is always right. You got to bend over fucking backwards for the few assholes that write the fucking negative reviews, you know? Because you read a negative review on Yelp, and 99% of the time you're like, this review says more about the reviewer than it does about the restaurant, you know?
Even like I give ratings at the end of like the food, but like even if I thought the place was terrible, I'm still gonna give them like 3 stars because because you really can ruin someone's business. And I don't know if it was a new chef, a shitty day, it was just bad timing. Like, I don't want to ruin this is, like you said, I'm not passionate about Whataburger and McDonald's and shit like that. But what I'm passionate about is getting the jokes off and making the fun. And I like good food. So trying it's a reason to try new food, but it's not, there's just not, I don't want to be an asshole about it, you know?
Right. Of course. Yeah.
But so we got off subject. I just forgot to talk to you about that because I'm glad you gave the anecdote that you just like the idea of getting the jokes off and stuff. Cause I was curious. I didn't know if you were like a big foodie, if you like to cook or what. It was just more like like you said, a way to get more comedy. You know,
what's funny is the chain reaction series I used to do, our review chain restaurants. It says that like one of the taglines of the show is like, I'm a regular dude. I eat at regular. I'm a regular guy. I eat at regular places or something like that. But you know, I don't like cooking. I've never really, except for like, I mean, a little bit here and there when I'm like grilling I'm outside grilling and feeling nice on a day. Like, I've never really gotten joy out of cooking. And that's cooking doesn't give me fucking joy. You know what I'm saying? I never cook. Ever, ever.
Okay. That's funny. Yeah. Cause I like cooking. I've fallen kind of in love with that idea of like,
and hey,
I like to cook.
Don't, you know,
I'm not gonna be like Wax said I can't cook anymore and I'm gonna stop cooking again. No, it's okay. I appreciate it.
I hope people get as much joy out of cooking as they can, and then I'll go over there to eat. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah. That's why I like cooking is the joy is sharing it with other people, and then the egotistical artist side of me is like, I like when people say, hey, that's good or good job. Right. Like, you know, that's not why I do it, but I'd be lying if I said I'm not excited when someone's like, hey, great food, you know, compared to when they're like, that fucking sucks. There's a big difference.
Of course.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, guys, make sure you follow him. Check out his music. Everything will be in the bio, all that. Guys, thank you for listening. If you guys want to follow me on Instagram, it's at Brandon Lejean _ That's in the bio too. I got stickers. If anyone wants them, just feel free to shoot me your address. I will send you them without my return address now. So good looks on that. And then other than that, guys, it's your first time listening or your 67th. I appreciate you. And most importantly, thank you for letting us be your last resort. Now enjoy getting taken out by the Wax.
Yeah. Check it out now, it's like this Shaw, it's like that Anna, it's like this Shaw, it's like that Anna, like that. Check it out now, check it out. Yo, this one right here is about a girl, and you've seen this girl before if you've been to any club in the whole wide world. Check it out. Her nickname's Last Resort.